Hi, I'm Paul Smith. I'm Vice President for Litigation and Strategy at the Campaign Legal Center. My main involvement with the movement for LGBTQ equality began when I was in the right position at the right time to work on the Lawrence versus Texas case and argue it in the Supreme Court. The issue in Lawrence versus Texas was whether it's constitutional for a state to criminalize same-sex sexual intimacy in the privacy of your home. The court had held back in 1986 in Bowers versus Hardwick that there's nothing constitutionally problematic about putting people in jail essentially for being gay. You know, I've argued 21 cases in the Supreme Court, but Lawrence was totally unique as an experience. The sense of historical importance of the case was just incredibly strong at the time. We felt like we should save all of our notes and all of our work papers. And in fact, the binder I carried up to the podium that day is in the collection at the Smithsonian, along with the necktie I wore that day. The entire Supreme Court courtroom was filled with people on our side, with LGBT people who had come to look the court in the eye and say, we have to change the jurisprudence. You can no longer treat us like we're second-class citizens. And so I had this tremendous amount of support from behind me as I stood up at the podium, but also a lot of pressure. Fortunately, the argument went incredibly well, and we ended up succeeding in getting the court to change course in a way that has fundamentally altered the legal position of the LGBTQ community in this country ever since. So after the Lawrence victory, I was in a position to get involved in lots of other important aspects of the fight for equality. Even as I was doing all the work on Lawrence and then on the later Supreme Court cases involving gay rights, I was simultaneously doing quite a bit of work on the Constitution as it applies to voting and elections in this country. In many ways, they had a lot in common. They were two areas of the law where we were calling on the government to live up to the commitments of the Constitution, to equality and fairness. And I like to think that at CLC we're still pushing the country toward greater equality, greater fairness in important areas of election law, just as I was fortunate enough to be able to do a little earlier in my career with respect to LGBTQ equality.